Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World, coming to you on a hump day. That's right, hump day. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huffman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. Welcome into the show. Today, we're bringing you the crossover. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on all the platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. Please check us out. I've also shared the StreamYard link into all of the places. So if you want to join us to talk a little bit of basketball, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about the Kevin Durant injury. We're going to be talking about those all-star voting return. And then we're going to do a little bit of GOAT talk, a staple of this show. If you're new to here, please like, share, subscribe. Also, we are also now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. So if you missed one of our live broadcasts, you can go back and watch on that platform. I have shared the link to all of those places already in the chat there. TJ, welcome into the show. How are you, my friend? Happy hump day.
Hey, David.
So you're doing well? I don't know what that means, man.
No.
All right, for sure. We're going to get into some basketball stuff. So we're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls, Kevin Durant, and we're also going to talk about those all-star voting, as I talked about earlier in the show. So let's get into the very first topic, is the title of the show, who are the Chicago Bulls? The Bulls starting to turn things around, as TJ talked about when we talked about them about a month ago, maybe it's 3 weeks ago. Winning cures a lot of your ails when you're the Chicago Bulls and any team really in the NBA. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They've won 8 out of their last 11 games. That includes wins over Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Utah, and Milwaukee. And what's different about this team than the team that last year that ended up making the playoffs at the 6th seed? They're beating those top flight teams in the Eastern Conference. They're beating those Milwaukee teams. They're beating Philadelphia. They're beating Brooklyn, as they really struggled against those teams last year. They're still coming up short against Boston, but Boston is just and they were only down by a few points up against Boston with 2 minutes left in the game, and then the floodgates kind of opened there.
They're currently against Boston. Yeah, we don't play Boston no more this season. We played all 4 games. We went 2-2. You went 2-2 against Boston.
Not bad. So. They're the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference right now at 19-22. They're currently beating the Washington Wizards, and Zach LaVine has been an absolute tear. He's averaging about 23 points a game, but over the last 10, averaging 28 points per game, including a 41-piece against Philadelphia. So who are the Chicago Bulls? Are they more the team that we're seeing right now over the last 11 games, or are they the team that we saw over the first 30?
It's a combination of a little bit of both. You want to be more of the team that you've been the last month or so. And a lot of it was Zach LaVine's health, like his knee, like he's finally feeling like himself. Right? And you kind of started to see it during the first stretch, like when he played that first back-to-back and he struggled. I'm like, I don't care that he struggled. I just care that he was out there and he played, because that's a good sign. Now it's like it's not even a question of him playing back-to-backs anymore. It's not just him. Vucevic is, I think, top 5 in double-doubles.
I mean, he's always been a double-double machine. I mean, he gets a lot of hate for a guy who's been pretty good in Chicago, for real.
Right? Like, 19 and 11 is not trash, bro. Like, that is not like,
but his fit in this offense has always been kind of wonky because of DeMar DeRozan's role in this team. You know, he's kind of like they expect him to be out there spacing the floor. That really never. I know he's a decent 3-point shooter, but he's a back to the basket center, and they're because of the way their offense is structured right now. You don't really have his fit in this offense is strange.
It's really not. They just go away from it. Like first things first. Like what they really should do is play through him on the block, go inside out, because he's a willing passer. He's a willing passer. Like he's not a black hole. He's not a if you dump it down to him, you're not going to get the ball back. No, he's a willing passer.
He's got 3 assists already in the game tonight. He's averaging 3 assists per game for the season. Over the last 10, averaging about 3 assists a game. So he's a willing guy passer. Over the last 10 games, he's averaging 17 and 12. Shooting at 41%, 42% from the 3-point line. So.
And I know the name of the game is 3-point shooting nowadays, but on most days when you get out to a slow start and the 3-point shots aren't falling, me personally, if I was a coach, I give my team 4 threes. The first 4 threes. Like if we start the game and we go 0 for 4 from 3 to start the game, all right, dump it down, get a basket. We got to see the ball go in the basket. We got to see that. As a team, we have to see that. And that's where he comes in. Dump it down to him. Let him get some low post touches, because once they start to cave in on him, like I said, he'll kick it out to the open shooters and whatnot. It's not. And Pat Williams, he stepped up. He had a good game against Philly. He had another. I think he had a solid game against Utah. It just got overshadowed because Lauri Markkanen just dunked on everybody.
He had a good game against Philadelphia. He had a good game against Brooklyn. He's averaging from the season. He's averaging 9 points, basically 10 points a game, 4 rebounds and 1 assist. Over the last 10, he's averaging 11, 5, and basically 1 assist. He only had 7 games in that game against Utah. Was not really all that good in that game, to be totally honest with you.
Shoot the ball too well, but it's the fact that he's shown instances he can, when he really puts his mind to it and he's aggressive. Like that third quarter against Philadelphia, he scored 16 points.
I mean, he should be a matchup problem for a lot of teams in the NBA. I mean, he's a big guard, a big wing, who can handle the basketball a little bit, 6'7", 215 pounds. Like, if he could develop a little more of like a
Strong as
post
hell.
game,
Strong as
strong.
hell.
If he could
Strong
develop a
as
little
hell.
more of a post game, man, he'd be really something nasty. But yeah, he's too lackadaisical at sometimes when you watch him play at times.
It's
He
not
he doesn't seem to have that killer instinct that you look for.
Well, you got to put yourself in his situation. Like, okay, I'm on a team where I'm not even the third option. I'm the fourth option.
but I mean, he was drafted.
I'm not getting ISO calls. I'm not getting plays ran for me. My ability to.
But I think if he showed more potential in practice, I think they'd run more stuff.
How do we know?
But we obviously we don't know.
We're not watching their practices. We're not
right.
there.
I'm not. You're right. I'm not. But I think if they were seeing that stuff in practice, I think they would go to it more often.
I mean, I think the wake up call for him was when he got benched. He had a terrible stretch, and Billy Donovan benched him. He I saw it coming, and it's on me to play better. And ever since that, he's been in the starting lineup. Ever since that, he's played better. He's been back in the starting lineup.
Yep.
So it really is it at some point it is on the player, and he's played better. And again, patient. Like Stacey King said it the other day, you have to be patient with some of these younger guys, right?
I mean, not everybody comes out of the gate and is Benedict Mathurin, where he just blows up in the first season.
Hits the ground running. It takes.
Not everybody is going to be Luka Doncic. That's the same draft class, right?
Luka. No,
it's the Ayton draft class. No, it's not. Hold on. Is LaMelo Ball? It's the LaMelo Ball draft class. Anthony Edwards draft class.
Yeah, for Patrick Williams. Yeah. He's that draft class. So if you look at that, it's not everybody's gonna be that. Not everybody's gonna be Anthony Edwards. Not everybody's gonna be a LaMelo Ball. You look at James Wiseman, who went second? Yeah, he went second overall.
Correct.
He can't even stay on the main roster with the Warriors.
It's true.
Right? So it's patience. You got to express that, and I understand, some of the frustration, right? But it's a give and take. Be patient with me, and at the end, I will reward you for being patient, right? It took what's his name? It took Andrew Wiggins 8 years to find some footing.
Well,
9 years.
Andrew Wiggins was always a productive basketball player. He just put up empty numbers on a bad basketball team. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best a best comparison here, because he was always.
No, but you don't. If you feel that way about a player, you don't move off of him. You don't do that.
I mean, true. I mean, but I think he is stealing in Minnesota. I think that's why they moved him on because he was productive there. Let's not pretend like he wasn't.
Put it this way: Timberwolves fans were not sad to see him gone.
It's true. He put up a lot of gaudy, empty numbers. I mean, he averaged 20 points a game his first 5 seasons, dude. He was a productive player. He just wasn't what people thought he was going to be because he got anointed the chosen one, and that he fell kind of short of those expectations, and that's why they traded him away. And he was on a bad contract at the time they traded him.
And to your point about playing the upper echelon, so the teams even when they lose to some of those top teams, it's not a blowout. It's competitive at times, right? The Phoenix game is an exception because Phoenix isn't good right now either. But
Phoenix is a little bad. 4-14 in their last 18 games.
You lost again, you pointed out, you lost to Boston the other day. Boston didn't pull away till about 30 seconds left in that game. Yep. It was a 101 99 game with 30 seconds left, and then Al Horford hits the dagger 3 in the corner off a double team from Jason Tatum. All right, so the final score was 107. It was 107-99 or something like that. Yeah, that didn't happen until the final seconds of the game.
And Andre Drummond's been pretty solid for them since they signed him in free agency. He's been a pretty solid fit for this team.
Andre Drummond is easily a walking double-double off here. I've seen him getting 10, 12 rebounds in in limited minutes.
He doesn't even have to try. Rebounds just
he doesn't even have to try, bro. It's just Jesus Christ, bro. It is what it is. Like Kobe White is like he's shooting a little better. It could always be better, but he's better than what at the start of the season. What you call it? Caruso is back from his injury. Io's playing better. Like everybody's playing better. And again, like the whole blow it up talks. Here no more.
I mean, I still think as we get closer to the trade deadline, there'll still be those conversations. But we're going to do a buyer seller show next week when we talk about the teams that are potentially going to be buyers and teams that are going to be sellers when we get closer to the trade deadline. As we're only a few weeks away from that.
You said like they're 10th right now, so they'd be in the play, and that's
correct.
What 2 or 3 games out of the 6th seed.
Yeah, they're only 4 games back of the Pacers in the 6th seed, and Pacers I think are still overshooting their coverage. Maybe they're back. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton has been insanely good, but I still think they're overkicking their coverage a little bit there. I don't think they're this good. But everybody below them, I expect them to kind of stay where they are. I mean, the Chicago Bulls should stay somewhere in the play-in. It's up to the fan base and the front office of how important, how valuable do they think that pick is that they're going to lose to Orlando? Like, is it worth being a fringe playoff team if that means sacrificing that pick? And have you already gotten to the point where you've won too many games to fall back down into what would need to be a top 4 pick in this year's draft with the landscape of the NBA right now, with the Houston Rockets, the Detroit Pistons, and Charlotte Hornets all having under 11 wins? I think almost feel like they've already passed the threshold where they've won almost too many games now to even consider blowing it up. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
like it's like when you got 3 teams that don't even have 11 wins yet. Like I said in the group chat the other day, like can you imagine a duo of Wembanyama and LaMelo Ball? Like that would be disgusting.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely good move. That would be disgusting. And again, like it's just like the NFL with the Houston Texans. They didn't give a damn about that. Like the players want to win. Yep. Players want to win.
And not to mention, like players, they're gonna want to. They don't give a damn about your future draft picks. Like they're trying to hit incentives. NBA contracts are fully guaranteed. They want to hit incentives. They want to get their money because there's no guarantee they're ever going to be on the roster long enough to play with whoever you get as that first overall pick. The Bulls right now have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11th worst record in the NBA right now. So they'd have to somehow get into the top 4 in order to keep that pick. In my opinion, I think they're too far gone. I think they've won too many games now to even consider it.
And I don't see Charlotte or Detroit or
Spurs, who have the 4th worst record in the NBA right now,
ripping off 9 straight wins.
No, I don't see it either. So, we'll talk about the Bulls, because we're both Chicago Bulls fans. We talk about the Chicago Bulls a lot on this show. Continue checking us out. The Chicago Bulls, I think they're somewhere in between, this team they've been as opposed to the team that they were the first 30 games. They're probably somewhere in the middle.
Talk about them because the national media just doesn't want to. Like, it's just LA this, LA that, and every now and again a Brooklyn topic. So, yeah.
True. Moving on, speaking of Brooklyn, the Durantula sideline, man. I missed that nickname, the Durantula. I had the Slim Reaper in there, but I know Kevin Durant doesn't like that nickname, so I figured we probably shouldn't use it. But the Durantula sideline.
I don't know. I would rather be called Slim Reaper than Durantula.
Oh, dude, the Durantula's fire, dude. It's a great nickname.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, like, me personally, if I was Kevin Durant, Slim Reaper, like, yeah. That's sad. Like, yeah.
I had it originally. I just know he doesn't like that nickname. But yeah, this is eerily similar to what happened to the Brooklyn Nets last season, if you remember correctly. As I go through the graphic here, Kevin Durant left Sunday's game in the third quarter against the Heat with a knee injury. The injury looked terrible. I really thought he might have done some serious damage. Diagnosed with isolated MCL sprain. Expected to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Woj, as a Woj bomb, said he's expected to miss a month of action. Currently, Kevin Durant, 29.7, 6.7 points, 5.3 assists. The Nets have won 13 of their last 14 games, and they're currently 27-13, the second seed in the Eastern Conference. If you remember, the date was January 15th last year. when the Nets were 27-15, second seed in the East. Kevin Durant has a meniscus sprain, misses the next 21 games. The Nets go 5-16 in that 21 games. They end up as the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference with a record of 40-38. How do the Nets keep the ship afloat this season so they don't waste the season like they did last year? Because that was, and they also remember they had to bring Kyrie Irving back in a limited basis. He basically was only allowed to play road games. They have Kyrie Irving back at this point. But how did the Nets keep this ship afloat as not let this fall apart like it did last year?
There is Kyrie Irving's back, right? And he's back full time. It's not a limited basis. There's no drama. There's none of that. Like they can just literally just play ball. They can just hoop. They ain't got to do none of that. Like it's just obviously 30 points a game. Basically, that's 30. That's Kevin Durant. 30 points a game. Easily replaced. And you can't just look down the bench and say, "All right, it's your turn. It's your turn. Give me 30." Like no, like they can't do that. But
well, I mean, I think that's it's nice that this team has some depth right now. I mean, TJ Warren can come in and get you some baskets. Patty Mills can play an increased role there. They have Cam Thomas.
That's where I was going.
Super good in the summer league. Hasn't played much this season.
I think the firecracker that is Cam Thomas can definitely utilize this opportunity, and like I hate that. I hate that it takes a player. I mean, but sometimes that's what happens, right? A player gets injured, and that opens up a role for another player. So like he can use this to show Jacques Vaughn, hey, I should be playing all the time, not just when the player gets hurt, and so on and so forth. I know this is a tall task, but you have to ask Ben Simmons to score more.
Or at least be more aggressive on offense.
Or be right. Be more,
because they're gonna have to run. They're gonna have to run a lot of stuff through him in order to replace the 30 points per game. Because they're replacing 30 points per game from Kevin Durant. There's like it's.
No, it's not.
Like that doesn't exist. Like you look at even on the roster, if you look at it, there's nobody who was like, oh yeah, this guy can give me 30 points. It's going to have to be like a different guy every night. It's going to be have a Cam Thomas night where he kind of blows up, a Seth Curry night, it's a Patty Mills night where those guys all take turns, kind of sort of being the guy that replaces the output that you get from Kevin Durant. On top of that, they have to become a much better defensive team, because if you're not going to have 30 points in your scoring, you have to limit the amount of points you're going to give up.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't exactly have, lockdown defenders on their roster outside of Ben Simmons and Nicholas Claxton. And Royce O'Neal's a pretty good defender.
And Royce O'Neal can be that's the word I'm using. He can be a new.
It's true. I mean, Seth Curry is basically an offensive player. Patty Mills is a strictly offensive player. He's kind of fallen out of the rotation a little bit, actually. Hasn't played that much lately.
Here's the thing. I don't even think it matters how good of a defensive possession that they have. We've seen the Achilles heel of the Brooklyn Nets, and they just get obliterated on the boards.
Yep.
They get killed on.
Even when they have Kevin Durant healthy, they just don't. Like Nicholas Claxton, it might be the thinnest center in the NBA.
Until Wembanyama comes over.
Yeah,
but seriously, like
this guy, he's 6'11", dude. He weighs the same amount I do at 215. He's got a foot on me.
And so you got the game against the Bulls is a perfect example, right? Like they had defensive possessions where, they missed the shot, but offensive rebound. They get doubled up in the rebound so much. It's so that's why I'm hoping Boogie Cousins is a name that they, trot back out. Because even if Boogie Cousins if he give you 10 and 8, that's great, because he's not just somebody that you can just throw around. Nick Claxton can get moved off a spot. He can get boxed out. He can get bodied up. He can just get tossed around like a rag doll. You ain't tossing Boogie Cousins like a rag doll. That's just not happening. So, like, can Kyrie Irving go nuclear? Can Kyrie Irving
for sure can
Kyrie Irving for a month not be Kyrie Irving? Can Kyrie Irving become Uncle Drew for a month? He don't need to be like he needs to be Uncle Drew for a whole month. That's what the Nets are asking him to do. So, and to your point, like, we already know what Kyrie Irving's gonna do. Like, we know what Kyrie Irving's gonna give us. It's just he can't have too many 5 or 18 shooting nights, right? Because if he has an off night, then it's really, hey man, we in trouble.
Yeah. Tonight. So like for the first time since he's probably been in Brooklyn, like the pressure is going to be solely on Kyrie Irving. Like he's going to have to be the guy that facilitates all their offense and creates everything off the dribble, off the bounce. I mean, yeah, because he doesn't have that other guy to basically take the load off him. He's going to have to shoulder all of that. The only thing that I worry about now is because Kyrie Irving's had a long history of just being injured on occasion, and so I would worry about his usage rate going way up and him suffering some sort of injury. But obviously I don't wish that, but I do think they have to be careful with the minutes that he plays.
Falling apart right now. They are just letting Washington run them this third quarter, but it is what it is. It is what it is. That's why you play 4 quarters and not 3. So it's gonna be tough. I forgot the next. I think ESPN pulled up their because they asked the same question, right? ESPN pulled up their next stretch of games.
I got it right. I got it in front of me. Actually, I can do that right now.
It's a tough little stretch, ain't it? Like or it could be potentially.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're your best player, I mean, any team you're going to be playing in the NBA is going to be difficult. So their next stretch. So they got Boston, they got Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Phoenix, Utah, Golden State, Philadelphia, Detroit, New York. That's actually not that bad. They should win. They'll probably lose to Boston. They should beat Oklahoma City. They should beat San Antonio. They should beat Phoenix and Utah. I think they'll lose to Golden State. They'll lose to Philadelphia. They'll beat Detroit. They'll beat New York. They'll beat the Lakers. And then they got Boston again. And that's not even the month being up. Like if we continue, if let's say he misses a legit month, and we're talking about all the way to February 13th, they got the Boston Celtics again, the Wizards, the Clippers, Phoenix, the Bulls, the Sixers, and the Knicks. His potential return date would be February 15th, the game before the All-Star break against the Miami Heat. I actually imagine they'll just keep him out up until after the All-Star break.
All-Star break, yeah.
Yeah, that would give him basically 6 weeks to recover from this injury. And how many games is that in between? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 games between now and the All-Star break. If the Brooklyn Nets can win 10 of those, I think they'll be okay.
I think if they obviously in situations like that, situation is with the teams that you listed that they have to play. The goal in that is 500, right? Like 18 games. Like if Kevin Durant is out that long, the only tough ones, like you said, Boston, Utah could be tough. I'm not going to sit here and act like OKC is a walk in the park because they're not. So like that's 3 tough teams right there.
And that game is in Utah. That's a tough game. That's a
tough game, bro.
In Utah, it's a tough place to play.
At the Mormons, that's a tough crowd to play in front of.
Right, Izzy knows all about them Mormons in Utah.
Next subject before I say something that get us kicked off.
Yeah, moving on. Speaking of the All-Star break, let's talk about All-Star voting results. So, ironically enough, Kevin Durant leads all players in the Eastern Conference with like 3 million votes. He's just a little bit ahead of Giannis Antetokounmpo. LeBron obviously leads everybody in the West by quite a big margin. Steph Curry is the only one that's even remotely close. And then Curry, obviously leading guard in the West. Kyrie Irving, leading guard in the East. If you don't already know, fans account for 50%, current players account for 25%, and the media accounts for 25%. To make 100%. Looking at the first returns, I think this is the first fan returns. This was released a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago or so. Anything surprising to you about this fan return so far?
Like you go to the guards on both sides, and you look at who holds the number 9 slots on both the East and the West. Like me, I love Derrick Rose. Right? Derrick Rose isn't an all-star. Like he's not even playing. Austin Reeves is
who knows, dude? I mean,
not an all-star.
I mean, he's got more votes than Chris Paul right now. I do know they take players off of the ballot if they get hurt. But Austin Reeves. I also on the other side in the front court on the Eastern Conference, Paolo Banchero at number 8, like that. Like he's not an all-star. I mean, he's had a solid rookie season, but the fact that people in Orlando are getting behind him like this, I love to see stuff like that. Like it just baffles me that Chicago has not a single player. Top 3 media market in the United States, all the population through the wazoo, and you can't get DeMar DeRozan in the top. Or DeMar DeRozan is in the top 10, but you can't get Zach LaVine. You can't get anyone else in the top 10.
That's the issue. That's the issue I have with that. So like, you go to the voting on NBA.com, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, like they're both guards. DeMar DeRozan is not a guard, not anymore.
Yeah, for sure. He plays forward, power forward, small forward for them. Remember last year? Remember when they first signed him? I said he'd be playing a lot of power forward, and I was like, yeah, and he has played a lot of power forward actually for the Chicago Bulls this season and last season. But yeah, DeMar DeRozan's not a guard. Like the fact that he's still listed as a guard.
So and I'm literally looking at I'm not LaMelo Ball hasn't been playing, so Zach LaVine should literally be right there. Derrick Rose is not playing. Zach LaVine should be right there. I'm not like I don't get it. Like, and to your point, this is why I say we have the worst fan base in sports, right? And so instead of showing your support to these guys, it's blow it up. He sucks. He's not worth this money. He's not like, and you wonder why free agents don't want to come here. You wonder why.
Yeah, it's true. And then Kyle Kuzma in the top 7. I mean, that's pretty shocking to me. But yeah, I think the guards is really tough in the Western Conference. Like those first 4 guys are all having seasons worthy of being a starter, but they're just bottlenecked, and like that position is just so overpopulated by good players that you just can't, like, popularity. Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, nobody's gonna touch them.
No one's gonna touch that.
I'd like to see Lauri Markkanen at number 7 to see the Jazz fans get behind him because they never did in Chicago.
Nope, they couldn't wait for him to get gone. And
it's true. Now look, he's tearing it apart. What did he have, a 47 piece against us when he came back?
7 dunks. 7. Yeah, he had like seven dunks, including one nasty one over Vucevic, which I'm not even mad about, bro. Like, just keep open. But he should be.
I mean, if you play basketball and you play at that level, somebody's eventually going to get you like that. Like, it just happens. Like
you don't get dunked on. That's what happens. Yeah. But the fact that the All-Star game is, reminder, in Utah this year, and we legit thought that Utah was not going to have any All-Star, anything, and they're going to have an All-Star this year. They're going to have an All-Star this year, and Lauri Markkanen. You love to see.
I mean, maybe.
Ain't no maybe. He's gonna make it. He may not be I'm not saying he's gonna be a starter. I'm just saying he's gonna be an all-star.
We'll see. I could see a scenario where he doesn't make it, especially if Utah continues to lose games the way they have over the last, handful of weeks.
And again, this is why I say fans shouldn't have as much say as they do. Like, the media and the players, especially the players. So I really think the players should have more say over this stuff.
I agree with you, and I also disagree with you. So this is a game for the fans. It's their game.
They
Like, and
complain
so
about it all the
if they
time.
yeah, sure. They don't like the fact that no defense is played during it, but it's really is a game for the fans because the players, they don't really care that much about it. That's why nobody plays defense or nobody cares about it. I do think the Kobe rules made it better last season, the last 2 years. Definitely has made it a better product to watch with that, kind of like that gym aspect where you play to a certain number. I just like that takes me back to like when I like hooping like at the gym, whenever the Y or whatever. And it's the game for the fans. If they want to see the players that they want to see, that should be who has to say there.
No, but again,
I do think it's crazy when they used to have it. Fans had 100% of the vote, and Yao Ming got in all the year every year, and he like basically never played. Like
outside of like the first two, like he was a top vote getter.
Yeah. So
he was a top he surpassed Shaq in votes that one year. I think it was like his first year, like his rookie year.
But yeah, I mean Tyrese Halliburton I think should be higher than 8, but that's another difficult position. The guard position in the Eastern Conference is full of good players.
So it's like, what can you do?
Yeah. Same thing with the forward position in the Eastern Conference. Kevin Durant, Giannis. I mean, Joel Embiid, Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Pascal Siakam. All have had
and we
all-star
talked
worthy
about
seasons.
that. Like somebody like, and when you talk KD, Embiid, and Tatum, somebody's not gonna get named a starter in that situation. Like somebody's gonna
based on the voting right now, even though they do have days where your vote counts like 3 times as much as before, Giannis, Tatum is going to end up being the odd man out.
You think so?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on if they weigh the season Giannis, the Bucks have kind of slid a little bit here. I think they're 5-7 in the last 12 games. I know they're dealing with injuries galore, and Giannis has been really good in that stretch. But yeah, they haven't won that many games. I don't know. If I had to pick one of those 4 guys that I think thought was going to miss being a starter in the All-Star game, it's Jason Tatum.
I don't know. I think because he's not playing right now, it's probably going to be Kevin Durant. And
I think Kevin Durant will still get voted in regardless.
As a starter.
Yes.
Like we ain't talking like I don't know. I think because he's out, because that's the conundrum that it is. It's like we already know. Like we saw it years ago, right? Like I think it was when when Steph missed all that time, like when the Warriors had that bad 2-year stretch, and we're like, it opened up a bunch of it opened up a couple of All-Star slots, and we already know that if X player was playing, that would be his, and so on and so forth.
Well, I still think Kevin Durant will get voted an All-Star starter because he's earned that, but I don't think he'll play in the game. And somebody, probably Jason Tatum, will be his replacement. But that's something to figure out down the line. We'll get back to that when we get to it. Let's switch focus from the All-Star game to Go Talk. If you're new to this show, obviously this is where we shine some light on some players that necessarily didn't get the shine while they're in the National Basketball Association, and we put them head to head against each other. And if you know the player before TJ reveals it, you can put it in the comments section, as we got 3 people watching the show right now. So thank you very much for checking us out here at Prime Sports World. Let's go, TJ. Also, I got something fun for us after this.
Player 1 was drafted 2nd overall in 2001, but he never played for him.
Okay. Who was he drafted by? Oh, sorry.
He was drafted by the Clippers, but never played for him.
Okay.
2001 to 2020, so long career, very long career. These are the teams he played for: Lakers, Suns, Knicks, Mavericks twice, Bobcats, Hornets, Bulls.
Okay. TJ, if you're talking right now, you're breaking up. I can't hear you. TJ, I can't hear you at all now.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now. So the last thing I got was the team. So Lakers, Suns, Knicks, Mavericks, Bulls, and Hornets. It does seem like TJ's having a little bit of connection issues. It's okay, TJ. We'll just save this go talk for next week. Let's switch gears a little bit here. Remember that game I showed you last week, right? Or a couple weeks ago, that Pirtle game. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we'll save your go talk. You're breaking up a little bit there, and so we'll just save it. Remember, so this Pirtle game is super fun. If you have not played it, I highly recommend you check it out. I will be extremely disappointed in you, TJ, if you do not get this player on the first try. Are you ready? Are you seeing my screen right now? No. But yeah, if you have not played this game before, this Pirtle game, it is the most fun you can have. If you're a really big basketball fan, it is the most fun you can have. So there's a new one every day. It's necessarily similar to that Wordle. You basically guess a player, and then it gives you how close you were on certain stuff. And then you try to guess the NBA player. Welcome back into the show, TJ. Welcome back into the show, TJ.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. All right, you ready?
Fine, sure.
Okay. So remember Pirtle? I told you about Pirtle? Anyways, so if you do not get this player on the first try, once I show you the silhouette, I will be very disappointed in you, okay? This is the silhouette of the player. Do you know who it is? DJ, you there?
I'm looking, trying to figure this out.
All right. By the silhouette. Yeah, by the silhouette. Do you know who this player is? By the picture. It's a current NBA player. And for our people watching the show, if you know who this is, just by the silhouette, take a guess in the comments section. TJ, do you have a guess? Oh, yeah. So I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Is that Taj Gibson?
It is Taj Gibson, man. I did this at work today, and I was like, man. So I've had two that I got in the first try. The one was DeJounte Murray, and the other was Taj freaking Gibson, dude. I'm like, I saw the silhouette. I'm like, that's Taj freaking Gibson. Shout out to Taj Gibson, man. Underrated player all time, for sure. But yeah, this is what. But this is what Pirtle is. It's a fun game. I highly recommend it if you got some free time. Check it out every day. You can play a different one every single day. My apologies, TJ. I don't know what's going on with your connection, man. We'll get it fixed. We'll do your go talk. We'll do 2 go dogs next week. I'll have one. You'll have one. We'll keep it rolling. But yeah, this has been the crossover. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I've been David Huffman. My co-host right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And if you missed us live, you can also watch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and then Apple Mute Podcast, whatever one it is. So check us out over there as well. This has been Who Are the Chicago Bulls crossover. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. And we'll be back here tomorrow when me and TJ are going to be breaking down who we think is going to be raising the Vince Lombardi trophy in bracket style. Also, we're going to give you our last predictions on who's going to win the various awards in the NFL. So keep an eye out for that content. I'm David Huffman. That's TJ. We'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy.